was awesome. I mean, getting on the grass, really cool. You get the extra week. Hard on the players, but they handled it great. I mean, you go really from phase 1 to a phase 3 practice without really the 3 weeks in between to really do a lot of the installs. The walk helped earlier, but to get out here and function like we did, not perfect. Guys taking care of each other. I like the juice. Love the connection of the team. It's great.
I've seen a lot of volume of team reps. Obviously, you planned it, but why so many team reps the first day?
Because we're allowed.
Todd, when you kind of look at this, when you get done with these 3 days, what would you consider a successful, considering the circumstances and everything, what would you consider to be a successful 3-day mini?
Well, it started today. Earlier this morning, our guys, their diligence, note-taking, being collaborative in the meeting rooms, okay, embracing the learning process, taking it from the classroom to the walk to the field, practicing with each other, the juice, all of that. That's really the core that we can control. We certainly, there's nothing about this we're going to see in terms of physicality. We're going to see in terms of communication. I thought the quarterbacks function unbelievable in terms of checking plays, getting us out of cans. Thought that was a highlight today, at least offensively. Defensively, was the 3 turnovers.
Todd Monken walked up to that podium, looked the entire city of Cleveland dead in the face and told the world Shedeur Sanders is first man up. Let that breathe. First man. UP, that is a head coach making a statement before a single regular season snap has been played in 2026. And while all of that is unfolding in Berea, Deshaun Watson is somewhere in that facility with his lips sealed shut. I'm Dre Fiverr. You're watching Overtime Reports. And today we are going deep into what is happening in Cleveland, Ohio, because brother, the Browns might actually be building something real. And Dre did not have that on his 2026 bingo card. Let's get into it. Here is the setup. Shedeur Sanders came into this year's voluntary minicamp wearing his number 2 jersey, the number he wore his entire football career before switching to 12 as a rookie under Kevin Stefanski last season. That jersey swap is not an accident. That is a young man walking into a new year, a new coaching staff, and a new identity, saying, this is who I am, and you better get comfortable seeing it. That detail alone tells you something has fundamentally shifted inside that Browns building. Now let's talk about who is driving that shift, because it is not coming from nowhere. As reported by ESPN, Todd Monken, who spent the last 3 seasons as Baltimore's offensive coordinator before taking the Cleveland head coaching job this offseason, walked into the Browns facility on day 1 and embraced Shedeur Sanders with a hug. And then, and this is the part that had Dre actually laughing, Monken ripped Sanders about how he tried to draft him while he was in Baltimore. So this man wanted Shedeur in Baltimore, couldn't get him, and now he has him in Cleveland. That is not a coach who is lukewarm on his quarterback. That is a man who already knows who he wants running his offense. The competition is real on paper, but Dre is reading the subtext here, and the subtext is loud.
Practice was great today. It's a lot of new energy. It's a lot of great new players we have, and I'm loving what we're doing.
What's your mindset after your rookie season? It seemed like you spent a lot of time in Cleveland working out. Why was it important for you to be here instead of go anywhere else and work out?
Well, this is the most important thing I have to do in my life. I have a house here. I'm comfortable, and I wanted to take everything to the next level within myself. I know it's some things that I wanted to improve, and I took a lot of time to self-reflect and just view a lot of things just from a different perspective, honestly. And I think I covered a lot of ground with that.
According to ESPN, Sanders said Monken met with him on his very first day as head coach and challenged him directly. Monken told his quarterback that if he wanted to be the best, he had to commit to a daily regimen, daily discipline, one step at a time. Sanders said that conversation is what clicked for him. Just having a head coach talking to him, just a relationship. That is all this kid needed, someone to actually invest in him as a person before they worried about him as a player. And that is a quiet but devastating indictment of what happened under Kevin Stefanski last year, when Sanders found himself buried on the depth chart behind Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel because the previous coaching staff felt he had not caught up to the scheme fast enough. As reported by Sports Illustrated, Sanders said the atmosphere in Berea feels completely different heading into year 2. The players are holding each other accountable. The meetings are sharper. The energy on the practice field is different. You can understand that they embrace you just as a person, Sanders told reporters, and then they push you each and every day in the meeting room, on the field and in the weight room. It's a new vibe. It's a new energy. Now, in this league, guys say that every single off-season, new coach, new energy. We hear it in every city, every March. But the difference this time is that you can actually see it. Sanders spent the entire offseason working out in Cleveland in that facility, grinding and studying before anything was even mandatory. That is not a man who is coasting. That is a quarterback who smells an opportunity and is not about to let it slip. Now we have to address the elephant in the room, the phantom, the ghost that apparently lives in the Cleveland Browns quarterback room, Deshaun Watson. And Dre has got some thoughts. Here is what happened. After day 1 of voluntary minicamp, both Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel walked up to the podium and spoke with the media. Deshaun Watson, who was in the building who took first-team reps alongside Sanders, was nowhere to be heard. As reported across multiple Cleveland outlets, it has been more than a year since Watson last addressed reporters. Over a year, and I need you to sit with that. This is a man competing for a starting quarterback job in the National Football League, and he does not want to talk to anybody. No press, no fans, nobody. He just goes through practice and disappears. Cleveland radio host Nick Wilson of 92.3 The Fan had absolutely zero patience for it. His message was direct. If Watson does not want to speak to the media or the fans because his feelings are hurt about what has gone down, then he needs to ask for his release and get out of town. And Dre does not have a single disagreement with that take, not one, because here is the cold reality. If you are going to win that starting quarterback job, talking to the media is not optional. Every single week of the regular season, rain or shine, win or lose, the quarterback has to stand in front of a microphone and answer hard questions. If Watson is already ducking that responsibility in voluntary minicamp before the pads are even on, what exactly are we doing here? Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated offered a more measured read, noting that the relationship between Watson, the media, and the city of Cleveland has been broken, and that there is a window right now to try to rebuild it. Breer acknowledged that nobody's expecting miracles from Watson heading into the final year of his contract, but suggested Watson could make his own life significantly easier by starting to rebuild those bridges. And Dre respects that perspective because Breer knows this league. But my personal read, Watson knows, deep down somewhere in that locker room, he knows this is Shedeur's team now. He knows the city has moved on. And rather than face that music, he is choosing silence. And that silence speaks louder than anything he could say into a microphone. Let's put the Watson situation in full financial context because the numbers are genuinely staggering. As reported by multiple national outlets, the Browns sent 3 first-round picks and multiple additional selections to Houston to acquire Watson, a man who then faced more than 24 allegations of sexual misconduct, missed 11 games to a league suspension in his first Cleveland season, suffered back-to-back major injuries, and collected a 5-year, $230 million contract that was fully guaranteed. He has appeared in just 19 games and gone 9 wins and 10 losses as a starter. At that contract value, Cleveland has been paying this man roughly $10 million per start. $10 million per start. And the scoreboard says 9 and 10. This is one of the worst franchise-altering decisions in the history of professional football, and the Cleveland Browns are still living inside it.
Excited in terms of how night one concluded for us to get 2 of kind of what I would call our shortlist players to pick up another top 100 pick as well as another pick in the top 150. We were very pleased with just really all the activity this evening. We're really excited about Spencer, and his potential at left tackle. He's super athletic, very versatile, elite, makeup. And then KC, he's dynamic. He's, an outstanding separator, really good with the ball in his hands. Honestly, probably the best punt returner in this class. And, those 2 guys will really help our offense moving forward. So, with that, open up for questions.
Now let's pivot to the good stuff, because while the Watson drama is eating up the oxygen in Cleveland, Todd Monken and Andrew Berry just ran one of the most aggressive and purposeful drafts this franchise has seen in years. And Dre is giving credit where it is absolutely due. The Browns opened draft night by trading a pick acquired from Kansas City to move into the 9th overall selection, where they landed Utah offensive tackle Spencer Farno. Then, still in the first round at pick 24, they grabbed Texas A&M wide receiver Casey Concepcion. Back-to-back first-round picks, offensive tackle and wide receiver, the two most glaring needs on this roster addressed before the first night was even over. That is a front office operating with clarity and conviction. It did not stop there. In the second round at pick 39, Cleveland added Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston, a big-bodied pass catcher with legitimate red zone ability that this offense has desperately lacked. Monken said publicly that he spoke with Washington head coach Jed Fish, who raved about Boston's competitive spirit, his love of practice, and how far he has grown as a player. And Dre loves this pick for one crystal clear reason. Every time we watched Shedeur Sanders in the red zone last year, there was nobody on that roster who could go up and win a contested jump ball. That problem just got solved. And on the offensive line, the Browns did not just stop with Fano. Heading into this draft, Cleveland had already added Titus Howard, Zion Johnson, Elton Jenkins, and Tevin Jenkins in free agency. Then they took Fano in the first round and added Florida's Austin Barber in the third round after trading back into the draft to land him. That is a completely rebuilt offensive line. 5 new starters added in a single offseason. Shedeur Sanders is going to have time to throw this year, and when that man has time, when he can stand in the pocket, go through his reads, and let his arm do the talking, we have already seen what he can produce. Now let's zoom out on what this minicamp moment actually means in the big picture, because Dre thinks too many people are treating this as routine off-season noise. It is not. As reported by multiple Cleveland beat reporters, Monken confirmed that the decision to have Sanders go first in team drills on day one was intentional, a deliberate recommendation from quarterbacks coach Mike Bajakian that Monken personally approved. This was not random, it was not a rotation rule, it was a coaching staff sending a message. Monken also said publicly that the reps will shift day to day across the minicamp and that the goal is to evaluate all 3 quarterbacks. Fine, that is what a head coach is supposed to say in April, but when you stack that statement against everything else, the jersey change, the relationship Monken built with Sanders before he even had the job, the fact that this man literally tried to draft Shedeur in Baltimore, Dre is not buying that this is truly an open 3-man competition. What is happening in Berea right now is a mentorship and a coronation occurring at the exact same time. Local Cleveland radio has already said plainly that this is Sanders' job to lose, that Watson's continued presence in the building functions primarily as a competitive pressure tool, something to keep Shedeur from getting comfortable. And after watching Sanders close out 2025 with wins over Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, after watching him post over 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 8 games as a starter, after watching this kid go into hostile AFC North environments and handle his business, Dre has been saying the same thing since week 1 of last season. Sanders is the answer. The only question is whether Cleveland is ready to stop hesitating and commit. This is the year, not a bridge season, not a let's see what happens situation. Shedeur Sanders has a head coach who wanted him. He has a rebuilt offensive line. He has a receiver room that finally has size and speed and a red zone weapon. He has a city that is slowly but undeniably starting to believe. And he himself said it best when reflecting on what Monken has already meant to him. The coach just spoke life into him. Spoke life into him. That is a man who was buried by his previous coaching staff. A man who slipped to pick 144 in the draft for reasons that had nothing to do with football. A man who is now standing in an NFL facility with a head coach who sees him clearly and a fan base that is ready to ride. Dre sees it. I've seen it from the beginning. The question now is whether the rest of the league is paying attention. And on that note, if this video hit different, if it opened your eyes to what is building in Cleveland, I need you to smash that like button right now. Drop a comment below. Is Shedeur Sanders the Browns starter going into training camp? Is Watson done in Cleveland? Is Todd Monken the coach who finally turns this franchise around? Every single take is welcome down in those comments. And if you are not subscribed to Dre Fiverr yet, brother, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, because Overtime Reports is coming with no filter NFL coverage every single week, and we are just getting started. This is Dre Fiverr. We out.